there, this is Tiff and welcome to the Tiffany Micah podcast. What we do here is we solve your problems so that you're out there working on achieving your big dreams and big goals. So when you listen to these episodes, if you can do me a favor, take a screenshot of the episode that you're actually listening to, share it on social media and share it with your friends with hashtag potential with Tiff, so that I can give you a shout out and really thank you for listening, because I'd really appreciate it. Hey there, this is Tiff from Tiffany Micah Podcast and welcome to today's episode. So we've just done our evaluation, haven't we, for our life categories. Well, guess what? What we're going to do today is we're actually going to be looking at your sport. Okay, so we're actually going to do something very similar to what we did with life categories, but we're going to do that for your sport. So what we're going to do here is we're going to be working out the categories for your sport, firstly. And then what you'll probably also find that you may find a bit of an overlap between the life categories and your sport, and that's okay, because you can write the same thing in these ones too. I like to call it's the double awareness. So this is really good to be able to do that. But this will create some detail for you as well, because obviously this is where you want to go and you want to become the sports person that you want to become. We need to actually be looking at these categories in our sports. Okay. So these are the categories that I've listed here for you. I've got 10. If you feel that something is missing, you can add your own category, but I'm just going to limit it to 10. So there's the sports categories we're going to be looking at are the skills. So that's number 1. Number 2 is the discipline to practice, incredibly important. Number 3 is stamina or endurance. Number 4 is speed. Number 5 is nutrition. Number 6 is performance under pressure. Number 7 is relationship with team. Number 8 is relationship with coach. Number 9 is emotional control. And number 10 is mental focus. So we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to rate each category the same as we did in the life categories. And again, like we're just looking at this is going to be a general overview first of where we're at, and we'll get into the detail later on how we can then improve that. So how are we going to rate this today? Again, we're going to have between 1 and 5. So number 1 means not impressed. And number 5 is it's impressive, okay, with where you're at. But be honest and true with yourself. You don't have to share this with anyone. If you'd like to share it with me, I'd love to hear from you, and also love to hear what you've came up with your life categories as well. But this is all about you being true with you, being honest with yourself, okay? So here we go. Number 1 is skills. So we're looking at that overall view. So what I want you to do, we're going to have a lot of detail in this particular one. This is the one that'll probably have more detail than anything else. But we want to look at all the skills that you have to do for your sport. So, for example, like tennis, we've got forehand volley, backhand volley, smash, serve, lob, slice lob, topspin lob, and so on, right? Movement around the court even, that kind of thing. So what we want to do for each individual skill is then what we want to do is rate them between 1 and 5. So for example, if we looked at our, let's say in tennis, I'll just describe tennis because I love talking about tennis. But let's say forehand, you rate it between 1 and 5, right? So it might be okay, might be sit at a 3. And then you rate it at that, right? Backhand might be a 2. Forehand volley might be a 4, right? So all we're doing is we're rating each skill. That's all I want you to do, okay? And we're going to do that with every single category. But with these specific skills, you've got to do it with each individual skills in this particular question, okay? The skills. So soccer, what would you look at? Well, dribbling, passing, shooting at the goal, specific types of kicking that you want to be able to create. specific types of dribbling, specific types of maybe possible awareness around creating spaces. I want you to be looking at each skill, movement around the soccer field, right? Hockey, same thing. Trapping and passing and stopping the ball, and look at each skill, dribbling, looking at each skill individually and giving them a rating between 1, which is not impressed, and 5, impressive. Okay? So number 2, discipline to practice. Again, what we want to do is we want to be looking at how do we rate that? Number 1 or number 5? Or somewhere there in between. And then we want to ask ourselves that question is, why have we rated it at that number? Okay, what's working and what is not working? Number 3, stamina. I just call this stamina, but they call it endurance as well. So stamina/endurance. Again, rate yourself between 1 and 5, 1 being not impressed, 5 being impressive, and then ask yourself the question, why did I rate it at this number? What is working? What is not working? Number 4, speed. Again, rate it between 1 and 5. 1, not impressed. 5, impressive. And then again, we ask that question, why did I rate it at this number? What is working? What is not working? Okay, so you can see that we're doing this for each category. I'm just going to keep going through the categories so that we keep thinking about what it is. Number 5, nutrition. Incredibly important, not only in your life, but also in your sport, so you can perform at the level that you want to perform. How would you rate your nutrition? 1, not impressed. 5, impressive. Somewhere in between. Remember, then you ask yourself the question, is why did I rate it at this number? And then what is working, what is not working? Number 6, performance under pressure. This is an area in which this really makes the difference between a champion and an amateur. Okay, a professional sports person and an amateur sports person. A professional sports person and a weekend warrior. Okay, performance under pressure, it's massive. So you need to make sure that you're aware of what is going on in this category. I want you to rate it between 1 and 5, 1 being not impressed, 5 being impressive. Again, ask yourself the question, why did I rate it at this number? What is working? What is not working? Okay, we need to be looking at that. All I want you to do, all we're doing right now is evaluating, okay? Number 7, relationship with team. Now, this could mean, like, if you play an individual sport, it might be the people that are actually helping you also become the player that you want to become. So I have got, like, in category 8, relationship with coach, but you can have your coach as part of your team as well, and then you can look at your coach relationship with your coach in the next category just a little bit differently. But relationship with your team, so it could be your parents, could be you might have a fitness coach, and might have a mental coach, and you might have a nutrition coach, and you coach yourself in your sport. I want you to rate the relationship within the team of where you think that it's at. It's impressive or it's not impressive. So remember, 1 is not impressive. 1 is not impressed. 5, is impressive. Okay. And then ask yourself the question, why did I rate it at this number? What is working? What is not working? Number 8, relationship with your coach. Again, we want to be looking at number 1, not impressed. Number 5, impressive. Why did I rate it at this number? And then what is working? What is not working? Okay, you can see that all we're doing here is we're evaluating. Okay. Number 9, emotional control. Incredibly important when you're a sports person. At times our emotions can take over because we so desperately want to achieve, but also that it then affects our performance. We don't really achieve to what we want because our emotions take over. So we need to make sure that we're in a state where we're controlling those. So again, this is why we need to be looking at what's going on. So we're going to rate it between 1 and 5. 1, not impressed. 5, impressive. Then what we do, we ask ourselves the question, why did I rate it at this number? What is working? What is not working? Okay. And then we go into mental focuses category number 10. again, ask ourselves the question, rate it first between 1 and 5. 1 being not impressed, 5 being impressive. And then what do? We ask ourselves the question, why did I rate it at this number? And then what is it that's working? What is not working? Okay, so there's quite a bit of detail here, and you can see why I've now separated the life categories and the sports categories into 2 separate episodes, because, hey, there's going to be a lot of work to do, isn't there? So we want to make sure that we've got our life categories in place and we've evaluated those. Now we're doing that with our sport, and we're evaluating what's going on in our sport. So we want to do the same thing now, is we want to add up all of our scores, and with the skills level, give yourself an overall, because I know that I wanted you to detail each skill, and that's a whole separate thing when you're adding it up. So I don't want you to add the actual skills up individually. Just give yourself an overall view with your skills, where you think you're at in, like I said, an overall view. Between 1 and 5, because then we'll just add that to our total score. And then the individual ones, we can then do the detail for them in what we want to do to take it and improve it. So what I want you to do is add each category up. So the skills, the discipline, the practice, the endurance, the stamina, the speed, the nutrition, the performance under pressure, relationship with team, relationship with coach, emotional control, mental focus. Add it up and give yourself a score out of 50. And then what was your score? Okay, so if you've scored 50, I'll tell you what, you're on your way for sure, but you may not be at pro level yet either, right? So I've got a feeling that Highly won't be at 50, especially in your sport. So what we need to make sure is we keep looking to get the edge, okay? Because I would consider that even a professional would rate themselves 50 out of 50, right? We can always get better, okay? So and if you haven't scored 50 out of 50, that's fine. It's all fine. It just means that you understand with where you're at, and that you know that there's work that needs to be done. And it's just awareness, isn't it? But it's the first step. You need to be aware. There's so many people that I teach in so many different things, and they're just so not aware of what's going on. And we need to create that awareness. So what we're doing here, remember, is we're just evaluating and we're checking in. We're doing that reality check to know where we're at. And if you are not where you want to be, then this is the goal of what we want to do, is we want to highlight what needs to be done. We need to go, okay, this is where I'm at. Now we want to go in the next direction, because we've got another 6 months to go here and things aren't working the way that I would have hoped. I've slackened off in this area. I haven't done much in that area. I've spent too much time in this. What needs my attention, right? So we're just doing all of this. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do that brainstorm time again, like what we did in life categories. It's time to really identify what we want to accomplish by the end of this year, 31st of December, 2019, because look how fast these first 6 months have gone by. Really whizzed by, haven't they? So the next 6 months, I know even like for myself, the next 6 months I've gone, oh my God, there's so many things that I need to be doing. And I have all these things and goals that I want to achieve, these outcomes that I want to create. And I'm like, oh God, I need to really get to work, right? So this is why we need to be looking at what's actually happened, okay? So what we want to do is create some anxiety for ourselves. Because I know, like what I've just been talking to you about, is I've been working on my goals over the past week, and I've got to do that continually over the next week, because it doesn't just happen and do it in a day. I'm finding, especially as I become more detailed, it takes some more time. But what we want to make sure that we're doing, and this is what I'm doing at the moment, is we really need to define what needs to be done over the next 6 months. And I'll tell you, I am so excited with where I want to go, but I'll tell you also that I have a lot of anxiety around it because I know that I've got to do so much work. Like I said, there's only 6 months to go, and I'm like, wow, because I've been waiting on my book to be ready for publishing and printing, and I've had a lot of hiccups along the way, especially this first 6 months, which I wasn't aware that it was going to happen. And you don't know. The things is you don't know what you don't know. But I'm like, it's getting close now, and I'm like, well, there's all these things I want to do because of when this book is ready, okay? So there's a lot of anxiety around that. So I feel some pressure, but that is good. It's good anxiety. It's good pressure because it's going to push us forward. So I want you to feel when you're putting this together, when we're setting up with where we want to go, I want you to feel some pressure. I want you to feel some anxiety around it because this is great. Because if you have no pressure, you have no anxiety, you really won't have any reason to do it. And then, you know what? You just won't do it. You just won't do it. So here we go. We're going to go into our sports categories. We've just done the evaluation. Now what we're going to do is we're going to look at each category, and we want to be asking the same 2 questions of what we asked in our life categories. Okay, so those 2 questions is what do I want to be true by the 31st of December 2019, and then number 2 is how will I do that. So if we go into that first category, the skills, remember how we listed all the skills in your sport. So what I wanted you to do there is identify what was, good and what was not so good, and you had to give it a rating, okay? So now what I want you to do is I want you to go into each skill in the skills category and look at and ask yourself these questions is what I want to be true by the 31st of December and how will I do that? Remember, we're going to put the detail in. So for example, if we looked at our forehand in tennis, what do I want to be true by the 31st of December 2019? Do I want to have a power forehand that I can hit the ball from any part of the court or something like that? And then number 2, how will I do that? And then you write down the detail on how you're going to actually have to do that. You're going to have to get quicker. You're going to have to work more on your technique. You're going to have some targets set up. You're going to have to work on specific drills and so on to create the speed. You're going to, work with your coach more intensely on this area. Again, right? We're writing down the detail. We don't need to put a plan in place yet, but we're writing down the detail. Then what we're going to do is we're going to do that for the rest of each category. But remember, for each skill in the skills category section, we want to do that individually, okay? Really important because we've got to have the detail. And remember, for you to become the sports person that you want to become, it's attention to detail. So number 2, discipline to practice. Okay, so you've given yourself a rating from before. Now you're going to ask yourself the question is, what do I want to be true by the 31st of December 2019, and then how will I do that? How disciplined do you want to be to practice? You may have identified that you're pretty slack. You're finding excuses to get out of practice, and then you're noticing that you're not performing as well in your games. Well, you've got to do the practice. I always laugh about my husband, and I give him a hard time about it. He wants to be able to go out and play golf, and he wants to be able to play golf at pro level, yet he does nothing about it. So there's no discipline there. He goes, I just want to go and be able to do it. But we need to put the practice in place in order for that to happen, okay? Number 3, stamina or endurance. What we want to do here is we want to ask that question, what do I want to be true by the 31st of December 2019? And then number 2, how will I do that? So if we look at stamina and endurance, we could be looking at, you may not be lasting through a 3-set match. You may not be able to last your whole soccer game. You may not be able to swim races back to back because you just don't have the endurance, right? Then you want to list down all the things that you need to do for that to increase that endurance. Number 4, speed. We ask the questions. What do I want to be true by the 31st of December 2019? And number 2, how will I do that? Okay, so how fast do you want to be? And then list the detail on what you need to do. What kind of speed drills do you need to do? Okay. Number 5, nutrition. What do I want to be true by the 31st of December 2019? And 2, how will I do that? So in our nutrition, what we want to be looking at is the types of foods that we want to be putting into our body in the detail, but we also want to be looking at, well, what do I want to be true? Do I want to be able to get the edge? Do I want to be more highly focused? Do I want to be have boundless energy? A lot of that's going to come from the type of food that you put in your body. What supplements, or do I need to take any supplements to help me get to where I want to go? Types of protein powders, or specific types of like vitamin B or magnesium, or right? So we've got to be looking at that, okay? Number 6, performance under pressure. So what do I want to be true by the 31st of December 2019? And number 2, how will I do that? Again, we're going to be asking those questions for performance under pressure. What do you want to be true? Do you want to be able to perform under pressure? Because you'll have to be able to do that to become the sports person that you want to become. You list down all the things that you want, that you need to do, right? You need to practice under pressure. You need to constantly put yourself under pressure in certain situations. You need to simulate what actually happens in games so that you're putting yourself under that pressure. So list the detail. Number 7, relationship with team. So what we want to be looking at is the same thing, isn't it? We ask ourselves the question, what do I want to be true by the 31st of December 2019? And then number 2, how will I do that? Okay? How will I create the team that I want to create? What kind of team do you want to create? Who are the people that you need around you? You may not have a team of people around you. Now it's time to start creating that. Have mentors. Who are you going to have mentors? You can use this podcast show as a mentor. Other podcast shows as mentors. Books as mentors. Doesn't necessarily have to be people in the sense of one-on-one relationship. It can be people that you follow, listen to, people that are role models for you as well. Number 8, relationship with coach. What do I want to be true by the 31st of December 2019? And number 2, how will I do that? List the detail. What kind of relationship do you want to have with your coach? Right? An honest, open relationship in the sense of your coach is very honest with you with where you're at in your sport. You want to be able to feel that you can talk to your coach about your frustrations with your sport, right? List how you want to be able to do that. Do you have a meeting with your coach every week or every month? And let's evaluate what's happened over the last month. Then reset, make sure we're on the same track for the next month, right? So really start to think about what it is that you need to be doing. Number 9, emotions, your emotional control. What do I want to be true by the 31st of December 2019? Number 2, how will I do that? So we need to be asking those questions, don't we? How will I do that? What kind of emotional control do you want to have when you're performing in your sport? I know when I perform, even to this day, I'll still go and play some golf and so on, and even though I'm not competing at the level that I'd like to compete at the moment, when I just go and have a hit with some friends or my mum or whatever, I like to make sure that I'm in control when I'm playing, even in practice, right? Even in a fun hit, I still want to make sure that I'm in control, because I know if I'm in control, I'm going to perform better, right? And that's just in having a fun hit. In practice, it'd be the same. Especially in competing, definitely, right? But how do you learn to do that? Well, you've got to do that from everything that you do. You got to be working on controlling your emotions. So again, what do you want to be true by 31st of December? And then how will you do that? List all the detail. And number 10, mental focus. I cannot tell you how important this is for you, mental focus. Because if you're not mentally focused in practice, and even like what I was talking about just before about even having a hit with friends, you need to be mentally focused in that moment when you're doing whatever that skill is. Then you can do whatever you like outside of that. But you need to be training your brain on how you can switch in so that you perform, and then how you can switch out and relax. That's a skill to learn. And then how do you focus? How do you keep that concentration going? How do you stay in control? Right? How do you perform under pressure? What's your mental focus state? How does your body feel? Are you feeling calm? How do you do that? Right? You can see how mental focus and emotions will actually correspond with performing under pressure. So they may overlap a bit, and that's fine, but we need to make sure we're listing the detail, right? So again, in mental focus, ask yourself the question, what do I want to be true by the 31st of December 2019? And number 2, how will I do that? List the detail. So remember, all we're doing here is we're just brainstorming, right? We're taking that time out thinking, or that time out storming. I'm trying to come up with a name for it. I like quite either time out thinking or time out storming. So remember, we're just getting all the detail out. And you may be thinking right now, you may think, oh, come on, Tiff, I just want to set the goal and I just want to get on with it. And I really get that. But I'll tell you a lot of things that I've learned along the way, because I've done a lot of goal setting over the years. And I was just going goal after goal after goal, but never actually looking back at, okay, well, why didn't I achieve the goal that I wanted? Why am I still trying to achieve the same goal 3 years later? Why is that not happening? And it's because I never looked back and evaluated with where I was at with anything that I did. I just kept pushing forward. And in order for us to grow and move forward, we also need to look back at what we've done in the past, what has worked, what has not worked, so that then we can then be pushing forward. So I will tell you, power is in the evaluation, the power is in the preparation, which is what we're doing right now, is we're preparing, and then the power will also be in the planning. And that'll be about everything. I remember last year I had an opportunity to do a speaking gig to 60 women, and I was so excited about that, and I planned it out 2 months in advance. And I treat everything that I do like I'm going to perform in a game. So I made sure that I was very prepared for my speech, right? The type of activities that I wanted to have, because I wanted it to be an interactive speech and I wanted people to get a lot out of it. The stories that I wanted to share that would relate to what I was talking about and the activities that we're going to do. How to interact with the audience. How was I going to do that? How could I get interaction from them? How could I get them to interact with each other? What kind of stories? Again, what kind of stories was I going to tell? What kind of questions was I going to ask? What to say when I got the feedback from them, right? I prepared it in such detail. I even went and worked with an acting coach on how to perform better when I was presenting. When it came to game day, right, the actual performance of doing the speech, wow, it ran like clockwork. And you know what was so exciting? And I had never had that feeling before, because I've always been nervous when I've been competing in sport. But I was going to speak in front of 60 women, so I had 120 eyeballs on me. You know what? I was so excited. I couldn't wait. And you know why? Because I was so prepared. And that was the difference that I noticed in the level of preparation I went into to preparing for this speech. And I did this for free. I didn't charge anything for it. I did it for free. It was to help out a fellow golfer. And I wanted to practice, right? And so the level, though, of preparation that I went to create what I wanted to create, it was fantastic. The biggest mistake I made with that is that I didn't record it. I wish that I had recorded that first speech, because I would have loved to have shared it with you, because it would have helped you as well in your sport. But that was what I didn't do when I was, especially because I didn't know when I was wanting to become the tennis player, especially that I wanted to become, even to become the golfer that I wanted to become. I still didn't prepare at that level of intensity and have that level of understanding of what I needed to do. And so we need to make sure that that's what we're doing. And here I am, I'm giving you the keys. I'm showing you all the errors I've made along the way, so that I'm helping you get the keys to the door. The keys to the door are here. We've just got to put the key in the lock and undo the lock and push the door open. But in order for that to happen, there's some steps we need to do. We need to evaluate. We need to set our goals of what we want to achieve. We have to list the detail on how we're going to do that. Now, all of this has got to be done before we're actually going to then work out how we're going to achieve our goals over the next 6 months, and then how we're going to break them down in the next 3 months. So I'm going to leave this now in your court, in your field, in your arena, and I want you to now go and do the work on your sport. I'll give you a little bit of time to be able to do that, and then when you hear this next episode that's coming up, what we'll be doing and looking at, and then it'll be the next 2 episodes, part 3 and part 4. Part 3 will be looking at your life categories and on how to achieve the goals in your next 6 months. Part 4 will be the sports categories on how to do that. Okay, so time to get to work. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I'd really love it if you could share with me what you like best about what you heard today. And if you've got friends that you know that would benefit from these episodes, I'd really love it too if you could share these episodes with your friends, because we want to build the Reach Your Potential with Tiff community as big as we possibly can. If you've got 30 seconds to spare, I'd also appreciate a 5-star review wherever you hear these episodes. So remember, dream big, believe in you, go after your dreams, get to work. We're going to get out there and we're going to achieve our goals, aren't we? Okay, take care. Talk soon. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for listening today. If you have any questions about the frustrations that you're actually going through right now, come over and visit my site, tiffany-mika.com, and you will see on the home page I've set up Ask Tiff. Now, what Ask Tiff is this is where you can ask me a question, and I will record an episode for you on how to solve that frustration or those frustrations you're actually going through, so that we can get the problem solved for you, so that you're actually out there achieving your big dreams and goals. So if you want me to mention your name in the episode, happy to do so. If you don't, I can keep it anonymous. It's fine by me. But make sure you go over and go to the Ask Tiff on the homepage of my website. If you've just got 30 seconds to spare, I'd also appreciate if you could leave a 5-star review wherever you hear these episodes. And remember, take a screenshot, add the hashtag potential with Tiff, so that I can give you a shout out for sharing these episodes on social media. I'd really appreciate it. And remember this, always, always, always dream big, believe in you, and go after your dreams.